Melissa? What's up, Melissa?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes. How are you?
I am great. How are you guys?
Same old. What's on
Melissa
your
and I are
mind?
going to talk about
All right,
theology
I've
while
got a
Alex sits there.
question.
Oh, I'm such a sexist. I can't believe I said that about the ribs.
Oh, oh goodness. Okay, so I'm a baby Orthodox. I just became a catechumen like a week ago. So this might be
Glory
a
to God.
really,
That's good. I'm glad
oh,
that's a great step in the right direction.
I surely appreciate it because listening to you, among other people online, has really helped. And
Oh,
I'm just
shucks.
reading Father Stephen DeYoung's book, uh, Orthodox Christianity in the First
Yes.
Century Religion of the Apostles.
Yes.
So my father, who is not an Orthodox gentleman, he's not currently part of a church, but he's more of a he likes the reminiscent vibes of the Pentecostal movements from the 70s, like small church
Hey,
vibe.
I'm kind of
Uh,
familiar with that, to be honest. I know where you're coming from. Yeah.
oh, yeah, and he's totally respectful of my decision to become Orthodox. But we were having a discussion today, and he was saying that through his readings of Polycarp and someone else from the first and second century, that he thinks that the Pentecostal or Protestant, that type of Protestant church, is closer to the first or second century churches, and that what we do in the Orthodox Church with, the vestments and the altar and everything is more of a development later on. And so he was sort of, politely throwing a little shade, like, yeah, I think that's really more of the closer to the first century. Everything, those other things are development, which is okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to know what your thoughts were about that and if he's correct or not, because I haven't read Polycarp or very much yet.
I do not have positive thoughts about that, but I would ask him, were they doing the good old bada Honda, should have bought a Yamaha thing in the first
Yeah.
century? But
Yeah.
Father Stephen on the whole Council of God, his lesson or his Bible study on First Corinthians chapter 12, I think like I sometimes still struggle to not see it in a Pentecostal way. And when I listened, whenever I listened to his Bible study on that, it was like it was very clear at that point. When you put it in the context of like everybody spoke different languages because you don't have the internet. And like I was thinking, even in Romania, if you go to like one end of the country and the other end of the country, people like their dialect would sound so different it might even sound like a different language. And I was thinking, like, what if you have an ancient society like that where they don't even have TV or the internet, to where like, oh, a person in California can hear a New York accent, and kind of over time the American English gets standardized across the board, right? Because everybody's hearing the same thing.
Mhm.
There were so many different languages and like little local dialects that like with that context I was like, oh, so yeah, don't speak in a language that nobody understands during worship. But anyway, that was kind of a tangent. I think so. That's on the speaking of tongues thing. I think that would help a lot. And just the history of worship. Like, I don't think you need to do like a deep dive in it, but just the idea that it's a continuation of the synagogue worship. That's really, I think, like the strongest argument there is like that they did not worship the way that Pentecostals think the early church worshipped, like sitting around in a circle in a flat somewhere with the guitar. It was it, it's knowing where the divine liturgy comes from, right? Like that it has these two parts, and like the first part of the liturgy comes from like the Sabbath synagogue service, and the second part of the liturgy comes from the agape feast. And then they were eventually put together, and that's like the divine liturgy we have today. Like all of the things we have today are there for a reason. It's like investigating those reasons is already enough to like debunk the Pentecostal view. But I guess Father Stephen, please go ahead.
So there's, if you sit and you read any text like that and you're trying to find similarities, right? So like if you're trying to say like, well, okay, look, this is the second century, it's a persecuted church. So yeah, they weren't building any cathedrals in 150 while they were under Roman persecution.
Oh, I can't hear Father Stephen.
Oh, you might have to leave and rejoin.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just couldn't hear
But you
Father
can't hear
Stephen if
me.
he was speaking.
Can't hear me.
Still can't hear him.
Can't hear me.
No, unfortunately not. I think I could try switching to YouTube, but then I think I might
No,
get kicked out.
just leave and come back. I'll put you in the front of the line.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Polycarp. It's been a while since I read him. I know I did because I have the page noted. But there's like that one epistle of Polycarp. How do you get?
And there's the martyrdom of Polycarp, and there's
How do you get Protestantism out of the martyrdom of Polycarp?
I think he's just making an argument for simplicity.
That's got to be it.
Because she was saying that all these things like vestments and are all, you know, the ornamentation, right? That kind of thing.
Hi, Melissa. Can you hear him now?
Can you hear me now?
I can. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I think if you read a text and you're looking for similarities, right, you can kind of find some, right? If you're saying like, okay, well, this is the you know, early to mid 2nd century. The church is being persecuted by the Romans. St. Polycarp ends up being martyred. They weren't building cathedrals, right? Because they couldn't. They're persecuted, right? They aren't, you know what I mean? So yes, obviously a church under persecution that early on in the church's life, you know, they may have worn nice clothing, right? But they probably didn't have super elaborate vestments, and because they just weren't able to, right? But if you just look at what's there, I mean, St. Polycarp is a bishop. And he became a bishop by having St. John the Apostle lay hands on him and make him a bishop. And his successor. And that gave St. Polycarp the authority to write letters to churches in a whole area. And those letters were viewed as authoritative to resolve disputes and things, right? And when you read his letter to the Philippians, for example, he says things like, you know, as Paul also wrote to you, I write to you, right? Like, he's not writing as if like, well, here's my interpretation of these scriptures, here's my opinion for what it's worth, right? Like,
it's a continuation of that like rabbi letter,
right?
That like St. Paul was following, and the like Gamaliel would write these letters, and it kind of continued.
He's writing as a successor to St. Paul, right? So St. Paul is now gone. Now I'm the one who has the authority to resolve these disputes for you, right? So I don't know how compatible that is with that kind of Pentecostal, right? Like, I don't know that they have bishops over areas. I don't know they have the idea of the laying on of hands and apostolic succession. I don't know, right? And so there are all of these things. And so, yeah, it's very easy. What was I watching? It may have been you on that one channel, Alex, with the St. Justin Martyr thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where he reads like basically the early order of worship. It says this looks nothing like a liturgy. I'm like, well, actually, that's exactly the pattern of the liturgy.
It's literally all the
But right, and he's saying like that sounds like what happens at one of my services, right? And then Alex points him to the paragraph before where he's talking about how the Eucharist is actually the body and blood of Christ,
like very explicitly.
Yeah, very explicitly. And he's like, well, do you believe that part? And it's like, okay, well, no, not that part. Right? Like he disagrees with it. So on the whole, does St. Justin Martyr sound more like a Protestant or like an Orthodox person? On the whole, you'd have to say he's much closer to the Orthodox person, even though you can find things in St. Justin Martyr that a Protestant could identify with in some sense, right? There are also parts that they would fervently disagree with.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely are disagreeing on a lot, my father and I, but it's very like polite, and he's very respectful of where I'm at, and I, respect him as well.
And that's a good place to be. That's a good.
I was gonna say, It was not that way for me, so
Yeah.
that's a good place. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Today was the first time because I've been talking to him about it. I only see him every once in a while because he lives out of town, but it was the first time where I think we had a little bit more of a back and forth where rather than just discussing things, we were disagreeing a bit. And he was, trying to bring up Mary and, the typical arguments. But that's the one that got me all confused, though, was trying to, it was almost like, because, the Orthodox say that we're the most unchanging. So for him to say, yeah, well, the way that your church looks today didn't look that way until like the 4th century was, I think it was kind of like a way to poke at that. And he's like, well, I think that the Protestant churches look more like the 1st century. And I was like, oh, well, I can't say anything because I haven't read what he's claiming to have read.
Well, here I have St. Polycarp's epistle to the Philippians pulled up here at the end of paragraph or section 5. He says that the virgins must walk in a blameless and pure conscience. Is Father Stephen, is this like a reference to proto nuns?
Yes.
Do Pentecostals have any nuns? I don't think so. Right. That looks pretty Orthodox to me.
Yeah. But a lot of the ways in which, he's going to say, oh, well, it didn't look that way till the 4th century. But the problem is most of those things would also apply to him. So, for example, yes, before Christianity became a legal religion, they didn't have church buildings.
They had a hard time.
Publicly have a church building, right?
Yeah.
You're being persecuted. Just like there's, Saudi Arabia today, you can't have a church building, So yes, technically, right? Starting in the 4th century, we have church buildings. Today, we still have church buildings. But before the 4th century, we didn't have sort of dedicated church buildings like that. But most Protestants also have dedicated church buildings, right?
Yes.
If they're in a country where they're allowed to, pretty much any Christian will have a church building, right? When the Orthodox Church says we haven't changed, we're saying we haven't changed in substance.
Yeah, materially.
Yeah,
substantively.
So we're not saying we haven't changed in accidents, right? Yeah. So yes, the Divine Liturgy was not being done in English, right? Until I think the first one was a couple hundred years ago.
Oh, wow.
Right? But that's not a change, right? Like translating the same liturgy into English is not changing the substance of the liturgy, right?
Yeah, at our Bible study today, my priest is making the same point. He was like, I don't know, the same question came up from one of our parishioners, and he said something like, look, if your prime minister becomes a king or your king becomes a prime minister and you have to change that part in the litany, that's not a change. Like that doesn't count as a change.
Still praying for the head of state, right?
Yeah,
whoever that is, right? Yeah. And there's plenty of other examples, right? Like Palm Sunday in a lot of Russia, they don't have palm trees.
Ah, yes.
So they have pussy willows.
Yes.
They carry pussy willow branches in their procession.
Romanians do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, some other.
We also do not have palm trees.
Yeah. That's not a substantive change, right? That's you're using tree branches, right? You just don't happen to have the exact type of tree branches they did in Palestine in the 1st century, right? So lots of those kind of things change, right? Like
you do kind of see antiphons in St. Justin Martyr, though. Doesn't he talk about like call response?
Well, I'm
pretty sure it's him.
Got taken over from the synagogue, right? Like antiphonal chanting of psalms.
That's the thing. Is like they don't have antiphonal chanting. It's like the worship. I think is one of the most compelling things for me.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah. But so there's lots of things like that change, right? Like right now, in most Orthodox jurisdictions, there's 6 liturgical colors. There's 7 in some traditions, right? But everybody agrees that historically, originally, there was only kind of one. Vestments were red and gold originally, right? But again, that's not a change in substance, right? That's right. And so, we've got all of those little changes and adaptations to different countries where the gospel is gone and translations of language and local customs, right? In terms of different foods that get cooked for different feasts, right? And things like that. But it's still substantively the same faith and the same worship and the same thing that's happening in every Orthodox church. It's just, right, it's embodied in particular ways by particular communities.
What I pointed out to him in the moment, you know, what I could think of, because I'm also reading through the Old Testament right now, and I, you know, couldn't help but notice the similarities between the church I'm attending for divine liturgy and the things going on that God told the Jews to do in the Old Testament. And so that's what I pointed him to when he was saying, well, you know, you don't see all these things until these many years later. And so I said, well, if you look at the Old Testament, he kind of tried to shrug that off like it didn't mean anything. And so what I'm wondering is, like, do you think that the apostles had always like intended on creating that sort of liturgical worship? Like, do you think that that was truly passed down from them, or is it something that developed over time?
But Father Stephen, this reminds me of when I debated Aaron Gallagher, and at one point I think you asked me, like, it would have been a totally valid question to just ask them, do you see the Old Testament as inspired scripture? Because sometimes I get the same reaction from people where I'll try to make an argument off the Old Testament. I'll try to, whatever. And they just kind of brush it off. Like, yeah, but that's Old Testament. Like, that's also God's word, right? The inspired word of God, right?
Yeah.
But
I've had some wild ones. I've had some wild ones where I quoted something and they're like, yeah, but we don't follow the Torah anymore. We just have 2 commandments: to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And I'm like, yeah, so Deuteronomy and Leviticus?
So literally, we don't circumcise our bodies, we circumcise our hearts. Huh.
Literally
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so the answer is yes, because this is worship forms from the synagogue and from the temple. So when they were able to do it, I mean, this is the whole thing with St. Constantine, where every Protestant in the world and every conspiracy theorist, right? This is where Christianity totally changes, right? It's like, yes, they stopped murdering Christians for being Christians. How terrible, right? Like, they all act like this is this horrible thing that happened, right?
Yeah.
But St. Paul says in the New Testament that his whole goal, the whole long game he's playing, is he wants to convert the emperor to Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think he thought that if he converted the emperor to Christianity, he would like abdicate and turn the Roman Empire into some kind of commune?
Yeah.
Like, no. Right?
It would have become
Paul wasn't
imperial,
stupid,
right? Imperial religion.
He would have thought that if he converted Nero successfully to Christianity, that exactly what St. Constantine did would have happened in the 1st century.
Yeah.
That's what he was working toward.
Imagine that would have been a magnificent timeline.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was his goal, right? So in the same way, right? Like, the idea that Christians in the 2nd and 3rd century didn't want to have a beautiful church temple to worship God in, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have loved that. That's absurd. They couldn't have that because they were being killed and persecuted.
Yeah.
Right. And the proof of that is that as soon as they could have those things, they had those things, right? Like immediately.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I think next time I see him, I did, you know, because I'm also trying not to, my priest told me don't debate your parents, so I'm trying not to do that too. So I don't go too far, but I will probably mention to him maybe, you know, yeah, they were in houses, but, you know, did they have all of the other things? You know, and so I think that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting navigating this because we have such different information, and I'm such a, you know, I grew up not even knowing what Orthodoxy was until a few years ago, and so it's like a whole rush of information coming at me, and so he'll like pull out a random church father that I don't know about, and then I'll be like, "Why didn't you tell me about him 20 years ago, Dad?"
Only now you just started reading them now.
You're gonna quote Polycarp now, man? Come on.
Maybe now you got him reading the Church Fathers, right? Maybe this is a good thing, right?
That is true. He does seem to have like a little more information every time I talk to him, and he seems a little more generous to Orthodoxy each time. But he still has all these reasons why, even though I didn't ask him to become Orthodox, he always has these reasons why. Well, I couldn't be Orthodox though because of this. I'm like, okay.
Well, be prepared. Be prepared, because the more he feels drawn to Orthodoxy, the more vehement he'll get.
Yeah.
In being anti-Orthodox, because he'll be trying to argue himself out of it.
Yeah, it's an event horizon. You will see it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the heads up.
So he'll actually ratchet up those little pokes a little bit, because he's trying to, if he's really drawn to it, he'll be trying to convince himself that he doesn't need to go there. So he won't be arguing with you, really. He won't really be poking. Yeah. He'll be arguing with himself.
There is no opponent. You are your own opponent.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's so true. I actually went through a very small version of that right before I was like, I got to go to a church. I got to go to a liturgy now. I think I just have to do it because it's either
there comes a
Orthodoxy
point where it's like, I just got to like go see this thing. Like I can only just read about it for so long to where it's like, I don't actually know what's happening there. I would like the first time I went was just like out of like a purely academic like curiosity.
Yeah, and then once you go, you don't go back.
That's right.
Not me.
Yeah. Melissa, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for your questions and for calling in. Feel free to. I kind of want to hear an update on how things are going with your dad.
Oh, so, yeah. I have approximately 1 billion questions I could ask. So maybe if it's okay.